Welcome to Arjun Bhagat Decodes or AB Decodes. Today I'm talking about Operation Sindoor, and I want to discuss a couple of issues that kind of stand out. These are based on conversations that I've had, or conversations that one has heard on TV, on social media. And I think one of the things that kind of makes me really wonder is what was the Pakistani army doing? I mean, we're talking about a good 3 weeks from and now when this attack in Pelgam happened, when 26 innocents were shot dead in front of their wives and children after the terrorists determined that they were Hindu. So Pakistan had about 3 weeks, and in these 3 weeks, the Prime Minister of India made it very clear. This was on the 24th of April, and he said, we will go and we will strike at the root of the terrorist infrastructure. So now let's fast forward from the 22nd of April to the 6th, 7th night. While Pakistan slept, India, its armed forces using missiles and drones, struck 9 targets. 5 of them in POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and 4 of them in the heart of Pakistan. Now, this had not been done since the 1971 war. So what was General Munir and his entire military brass doing? They had no clue that Indian missiles and drones were coming in and would destroy this entire infrastructure. And to discuss this, I have with me Mihir Shrivastav, a journalist and someone who has done a lot of investigative reporting. Thank you, Mihir, for joining me. But this is a question that has been lost in this din of war right now. That Modi tells the world in his speech in Bihar, he says we will go and we will destroy the roots of the terrorism where it is manifested, where it has grown. We will go and destroy you there. This is not the government which was there in 2008 when 200 of our people died in Mumbai, and we didn't lift a finger. People like M.K. Narayanan, who was the NSA and all, who were just sitting, and I don't know what they were doing. What do you think they were doing in this 3-week period, the Pakistani army?
I mean, I'm surprised at Pakistan's this ineptness to deal with this crisis, because they are very good at warmongering. And these attacks that you mentioned on the terror infrastructure at 9 locations along the LOC and the international border, and they were very closely located to the border, so as to facilitate infiltration from.
Well, not all of them were. I mean, I give you
1 or 2. Just most of them are in and around the border,
right?
Just to facilitate the whole arrangement. So they thought, well, we do it, we get away with it. There is always an element of deniability, though it's an open secret. It's not even a secret, it's just well known to the world. It's been established time and again that Pakistan is not just the source of terror, it's carried out as a state policy.
And it's the entire nursery of terrorism.
In fact, this is their living philosophy, to implicate damage to India or to Kashmir, which gives them force as a nation to exist. They are based on absolute negative kind of an ideology, which is to inflict damage to other countries and with an element of deniability.
I mean, their whole existence. I mean, General Munir, the army commander of Pakistan, on the 15th of April, he pretty much said that, right?
Yeah, because
he said, we are different from the Hindus. He said every child should be told what is the difference between a Hindu and a Muslim.
To the extent of saying that he owes his job to India. He is holding his job because he is able to communicate this hatred for India. So it has to be a clash of civilization kind of 2-nation theory, for the simple reason that they in their wildest of dreams want to co-opt Kashmir and bring it to the fold, make it a part of Pakistan nationhood. But having said that, see, the point is, and referring to these attacks on the terror infrastructure, that's the only non-debatable part in this whole episode.
Right.
It is established. Nobody disputes it. Neither Pakistan nor India nor any international power. It has been shown amply clear how these centers operated, how the militants lived, and but it's not just about infiltrating damage to India. These were terror infrastructure.
So, I mean, just to prove your point, and that's the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, he gave examples. He said the terrorist bases like Bhawalpur, which India struck, and Muridke are universities of global terrorism. The biggest terror attacks in the world, be it 9/11, be it London Tube bombings, or some of the biggest attacks that have happened in India, have all originated there.
And for some strange reason, because of course the defense minister of Pakistan was talking about, they were part of a larger coalition, in this geopolitical war where terror was used as a policy instrument.
I mean, he
Apart from that, sir, but
he's such a buffoon. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but he is a complete buffoon. I mean, the Prime Minister, like the armed forces of Pakistan, have embarrassed themselves, no doubt, given the fact that they couldn't even see an attack coming on the.
Well, that's what you expect,
Right, and then you have their defense minister who's, who excels in buffoonery. So let's not even talk about him, really. I mean,
but the point is that because of this, this Pakistan state policy of ambiguity and not owning up and yet operating, because they have these tacit agreements with various global powers, they have been able to survive that long with that terror infrastructure. And it's not just those terror infrastructure inflicted damage like you read, but they were responsible for attacks in Europe, in US, and elsewhere in the world. So the whole world owes to Modi, because now in a way, justice is done not just to the terror attacks in India, but across the globe.
the other thing I want to tell you is they have owned up. I mean, at the funeral of these terrorists, you had army commanders. It can't be more blatant than this. I mean, they've owned it.
They gave them a burial of a soldier,
Right.
with the national flag on their coffin.
There is no distinction between the terrorist and the armed forces.
Yes.
I mean, we saw it. So it's not something that, Arjun Bhagat is saying it, or Mihir is saying it, or the Indian media is saying it. It's right. It's proof is in the pudding, I mean, and the eating, right? So it's all there. But somehow I just feel, I mean, if you look at CNN and you look at Sky News, many other international media outlets, I mean, they seem to be completely blind towards what Pakistan has done. I mean, for God's sakes, the New York Times, finally the New York Times, Mihir, has said that these are terrorists who killed the people in Pelgam, right? I mean, that's huge. I mean, these are the same people who killed Daniel Pearl.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and here in Pakistan, I mean, Osama bin Laden was caught in Abbottabad, if I'm pronouncing the city correctly, and killed there by American forces. And it was again a sort of a precision attack, and Pakistan cried huge, but they didn't have the guts to sort of retaliate, and simply because they were caught with.
Yeah, ideally they should have retaliated against the Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, by the logic that they keep giving India.
I mean, and no nuclear blackmail, nothing worked because they were absolutely caught red-handed.
Yeah, caught with their pants down. Let me say it. If you're not going to say it, I'm going to.
Pants down. I mean, and when their pants were down, they were all jihadis. It's a jihadi army. It's a nuclear powered jihadi army which is driven by this Islamic terror ideology,
Right.
and which is very dangerous. And for the first time, I feel a concerted attempt has been done to deal with this aspect because of the nuclear blackmail. People usually don't sort of tend to engage.
I think you're right. So India has made two major points in this, right? One, India has said, we're not going to take your nonsense anymore. If you attack Indian soil, and here the distinction between the terrorist and the Pakistani army is no longer, there's no distinction between them. You're one and the same. You're going to attack Indian citizens. We are going to go and strike you wherever you are, whichever part of Pakistan you are, right?
And even in the attack, there is a huge distinction. India behaves like a democratic power. It will only inflict damage to institution, places, infrastructure that are directly involved in the terror attack, with taking due cognizance of the civilian population, taking due cognizance of the civilian flights as well. It was and Pakistan used everything in their control, so as to sort of it was just immoral.
And our military, the generals and DGMOs pointed it out that they were actually, some of the Air Force units, they were actually hiding behind the commercial routes.
When this is not done, but who do? So
But then, I mean, why would we be surprised anyway about that, right?
yeah.
They used every trick in the book.
But you know what also is very interesting about it, that you proceed, you operate as a democratic, very responsible power, and yet inflict such precise damage. And it's been talked about, if I can destroy your air base, I can destroy your nuclear infrastructure.
No, India made it very clear.
Very clear.
Right from the onset. If you read the first press release or the first press conference that the MEA with the military spokespersons in India and New Delhi gave, they made it very clear that on the night of 6th and 7th, we targeted terrorist infrastructure. We did not go after any civilian, or we did not go after any military infrastructure.
And it was not retaliatory. It was in fact a reaction to what Pakistani did, and we have achieved our objective. But if you want escalation, we are ready to fight you back.
Right.
But our objective is met. So now this whole sort of debate, who won, who lost, this, that, how many flights, these are nitty-gritties, these are details. What I'm very proud about is, not just as an Indian, but as somebody who wants to live in peace, not just in India, but across the globe, that for the first time, the epicenter of terror has been attacked with a clear message that we're not going to get blackmailed. We will operate in the way we always do, like a very responsible democratic power. But that's not a weakness, that's a strength.
Right.
And that's a strength that we're going to use all the time. So now you think of a new methodology, because this way of existing, which has been the case with Pakistan, has been forever. And it's good for Pakistan more than anyone else. As Modi gave them a very good message. One of the most significant statements which are not being discussed in Modi's speech, most recent speech, is the fact that this terror will eat you up.
Right.
And it is the greatest service Prime Minister Modi has done to Pakistan and to the people of Pakistan, to realize that this negative ideology will finally engulf them,
Yeah. No, it's engulfing them. I mean, if you look at Pakistan right now, they barely have foreign exchange reserves between 13 and 15 billion dollars. They are going with a begging bowl to the IMF. Now, a lot of people say the Americans actually arm twisted them to agree on that $1 billion loan. I mean, what is a $1 billion loan? I mean, if you look at it from a larger perspective, a geopolitical or a financial perspective, they are begging for $1 billion.
Qatar gave him $500 million worth of plane.
Yes, Mr. Trump. Yes,
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
No, but that is what they rendered, and I actually feel bad for the people of Pakistan.
Yeah, and their worth, the government has reduced their worth to 2 jet planes. That's what that money will bring. It is just very simple that this arrangement, in the way Pakistan has existed, is completely it's unsustainable, and they will keep going out to the West with begging bowl, and West.
No, but the West also needs to see through them, right? I mean, but in all fairness to President Trump, he has stopped military aid to Pakistan, and he didn't do it now. He did it quite some time back. No military aid to Pakistan, and that's a big blow to them.
See, I mean, which is kind of interesting. I mean, people talk in terms of geopolitical terms. India is to neutralize China. China is harboring, patronizing Pakistan, sort of neutralize India. And now, of course, when Pakistan and US is stopping military aid to Pakistan, would mean that they will sort of, point is not whether US does it or not. It's just this general consensus. How can, I mean, even China, irrespective of what their geopolitics is, and a lot of money they have given Pakistan to be that
80% of the armaments of Pakistan are from China.
And also there is a huge investment because of this China.
Yes, so other ports and all sorts of highways.
which is all gone to fund the army and the terror infrastructure. And China does realize it. And every time and now they get arm twisted into doing stupid things. And then that becomes a sort of a popular culture within the army. And army itself is fighting an existential war because it's one of the most unpopular institutions in Pakistan today. There is so much of internal.
Yeah, but a conflict like this actually really helps them also, because then there's this whole propaganda kind of narrative which is built up that the army is what is protecting us against India. Again, my first point, how India went and attacked them in the middle of the night without them getting even a whisper of an idea of what was going to happen. They realized it after everything was done, after those buildings were destroyed. I mean, just look at it. On the 7th, the Markaz Subhanallah was attacked, which is 115 kilometers in Bhawalpur. Then the Markaz Taiba was destroyed. You have Sarjal, Tera Kalan, Shakkargarh, Pakistan. These are all in Pakistan. Sialkot, Memuna Joya, which is 20 kilometers from the border. Then you have the in Pak occupied Kashmir, you have Markaz Ale Hadith, Markaz Abbas, Markaz Rahil Shahid, all Kotli, Barnala, Saiwa Nawal, Muzaffarabad, POK. I mean, you have a list of 9 major places. And here again, if you really look at it, what happened to their radar systems? What happened to all the Chinese, defense systems that they have spent billions on? I mean, here is a country that barely has enough money to feed itself. And they have invested such amazing amounts in military, armaments, and none of that worked.
And that's the reason for China to worry about. And in any case, they treat Pakistan, I mean, whatever Pakistan may say, as testing grounds. So in a way, a lot of things were tested, a lot of things worked, a lot of things didn't work. But what is precise in this whole thing is that we know that we have, in this fight for terror, which is a global scourge, in a way it is also established that it's India will have to fight its own battle because there is no one.
I think it's been established. You're right.
Established.
There is no ambiguity about that. We have to fight our own battles. And you saw the kind of interest that the international community has. It was pretty, I mean, for Pakistan, it was pretty depressing, Yeah. And for India, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because India is standing up on, it stands up on its own feet and it does what it has to. I think that narrative is now absolutely clear.
And one of the things just which is a bit of a criticism is that this whole Western approach, whether it's European Union or the US, is to hyphenating India with Pakistan, shows how sort of short-sighted they are. I mean, at the end of it all, one has to look at the larger picture, and the larger picture is that there can only be stability in this region once the scourge of terrorism, terror infrastructure, everything is dealt with, and there is a change of mind, which seems very unlikely. And therefore, that brings me to the very other significant statement that Modi made was that Shakti,
right,
the strength, is very fundamental to peace. Weakness can never bring peace. It is Shakti that brings Shanti. And I think that's very important, and that message has been communicated with.
So Shakti brings Shanti.
Yes.
Right.
And absolutely. And they should know, even if it's like out of terror, but so the terrorists should be terrorized is what Modi is done.
Right. And I mean, the days of, weak-willed response or, this condemnation because 200 people got killed in Mumbai and, looking here or there, putting some economic kind of restrictions on Pakistan, those days are over, man. We can't, I mean, those days actually horrify me. I mean, we saw what happened in the parliament attack. I mean, you covered it, right? And then you saw what happened in 2008 when they came into our city, Mumbai. They killed Americans, they killed Britishers, they killed, of course, the majority were Indians, they killed Israelis. And we still didn't, damn it, react. We didn't throw one missile or one bullet towards Pakistan.
And what Modi's done is what Israel, what US, what any other major power has been doing to terror attacks in their country. They're just destroying the infrastructure. America ended up destroying a country.
The couple of countries, Iraq was there, and then of course you had Afghanistan.
I mean, they tried to destroy other countries as well. They couldn't. But
Now you have Yemen.
Yemen. I mean, it's an ongoing thing, and so now India is just speaking their language. We don't tolerate. And what Modi's statementship, I would say here, has done is that one's response is not conditioned by whether the opponent has a nuclear armament or not. It is conditioned by what they have done to our civilians. The most important thing that has never happened in our history is that a nuclear powered country has entered into the heart of another nuclear powered country and destroyed military infrastructure.
Right.
That has never happened. And in your list are the places where this it is a game changer in so many significant ways.
Yeah, we've got a list of I think 8. Maybe there are more than that. I'm not sure. Noor Khan Air Base, Rawalpindi, which is a major air base, 100 kilometers from India's border as far as the crow flies. That is Rafiki, Murid, Rahim Yar Khan military installation, which is in Rawalpindi, for God's sakes. And in some ways, after looking at Sukur or Chunia or Pasroor and Sialkot, if you really look at the images, and now you have some brilliant satellite images which have come in, and it shows the precision of those strikes. My only, one wonders that if India really wanted to destroy the entire infrastructure as far as the Air Force was concerned, we could have.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just,
I mean, we didn't a lot of their critical infrastructure. We didn't go for some of their planes. I think because the objective, as far as the armed forces, as far as Modi and the government, the India government, was that, look, we want to target the terrorists. But because you have now targeted our cities and you have, tried to hit some of our camps, our military infrastructure, we'll show you what we can do. And on the 10th night is when India struck them.
yeah.
And with meticulous accuracy.
And what it says fundamentally, Arjun, is that, we are a responsible democratic power, like I said, and we have an objective. And now we have achieved that objective, but you want to escalate it. So we'll escalate it exactly in the way you want it.
Right.
But having said that, by demonstrating that we can hit target in such precise manner, had it been a nuclear escalation, and I'm putting it a little further, then we are capable of destroying your the nuclear infrastructure as well. So, and therefore Modi, with so much of conviction, says that nuclear blackmail won't work. So at the end of it all, I mean, if one is ready to bear the consequences, and one is so equipped to deal with all these contingencies, and in the press conference also, though it was very sort of jovially hinted, we are acutely aware of where your nuclear installations are, how they operate.
Yeah.
And it just takes half an hour to fix it.
Yeah, you're right about that. The DG Air Operations, he kind of, hinted and he said, oh, you've told us, we didn't know what it was. Of course, India knows where the nuclear armaments of, Pakistan are kept. And of course, there were rumors that they were hid, but these were dismissed by the commanders there in the press conference.
I mean, and it was not very far from the locations which were actually hit.
Right. No. I mean,
it's
if you can hit one end of Pakistan, you can hit.
Yeah, you can hit it.
I mean, I think that's a clarity that Pakistan. I mean, there's no ambiguity again about that. India has established that we can hit you where we want to, at what time. And I think that's one of the reasons why the DGMO of Pakistan called up at 3:30. What happened diplomatically and all, I don't know. But at the end of the day, what is significant is that the Pakistanis called up the Indians and said, look, can we go in for a ceasefire? So the Prime Minister has very beautifully explained this. And I think this is the first time it's being done. Would that be correct? Where the doctrine the military doctrine of India and what we stand for has been explained. Let me just point those 3 points out. One is that first, the Prime Minister said if there is a terrorist attack on India, a fitting reply will be given. We will give a befitting response on our terms. We will take strict action at every place from where the roots of terrorism emerge. So, how do you read that?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't said that, he's done that, and it will, and it's not the first time that this has happened. There were other instances as well when India entered Pakistani territory and destroyed the infrastructure. So he's just reiterating thing that he's been doing in the past 4 or 5 years, and Pakistan should take heed, because now this whole thing of nuclear deterrence, should now Pakistan worry about the terror deterrence, and that deterrence is from India. You deter.
Yeah, so let me come to that. Let me come to that. So the second point the Prime Minister, which you jumped at right now, is that India, and he said, and I'm quoting Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and he said, India will not tolerate any nuclear blackmail. India will strike precisely and decisively at the terrorist hideouts developing under the cover of nuclear blackmail. Now, if you saw the run-up between the 22nd of April, the Pelgam massacre, and the 7th, the Pakistanis, whether it was their defense minister, whether it was their ambassador to Russia, giving an interview to one of the Russian mainstream channels, the government channels, or the UK High Commissioner of Pakistan in England, they were all saying that it is not the conventional threat. All the options are on the table, including nuclear. I mean, how childish can a country get? And this was the official line. How do you read that?
So, I mean, in a very interesting way, if you juxtapose the 2 points that you mentioned, one, that terror and Pakistan are the same.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So, one, Modi said that, and second, he said that I will not, nuclear weapon won't work. Now, what it says is that terror is Pakistan, and if nuclear blackmail doesn't work, and we will not spare if we are attacked in any form or manner, which means that, when Pakistan state is in target, everything is in target. And so if I'm not nuclearly blackmailed or nuclear armament won't blackmail me, then I have my options open.
Right.
He's not saying that we'll shy away from it. If I'm not blackmailed by it, I will use, and as has been the position, that we'll use appropriate.
So to your point, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, goes on to say, thirdly, and again I'm quoting, we will not differentiate between the government sponsoring terrorism and the masterminds of terrorism. During Operation Sindoor, the world has again seen the ugly face of Pakistan when top Pakistani army officers came to bid farewell to the slain terrorists. And now India has given names of major terrorists, Masood Azhar's family. I mean, those guys have been involved in so many massacres, right? From the Parliament attack to 2008. Finally, they've been destroyed.
India has made a world a safer place.
Yeah, India has made, and thanks to our intelligence agencies, thanks to the NSA, DOAL, thanks to our armed forces, I think they've done a fantastic job. So he goes on, this strong evidence of state-sponsored terrorism will continue to take decisive steps to protect India and our citizens from any threat. Now, Mihir, let's wind this down, but I think to your point, the distinguishing factor between what a nation state is, what its military leadership is, and how is a military leadership or armed forces defined? It's defined as being neutral. It is defined as being non-sectarian, without taking sides based on religion. None of these distinguish the Pakistani armed forces, right?
This episode, I think, is very important in the history of the two nations, but also in the terror history, and how, like Modi said, this century is not for terror, this century is not for wars. And both these points are very effectively established, and one needed a jihadi general like that to bring this to the fore. Now the world has to deal with it. Even if world deals with it or not, India will deal with it. That is very clearly stated, and I think that's a step forward.
No, I don't think this general's innings is over. Like a lot of people are saying, oh, he's going to retire in November or he should be thrown out. I think he's going to dig in and he's going to say, General Munir, that my position is even more critical after this adventurism of India and the way, our country was threatened and our com was threatened. And now we need to even strengthen our military infrastructure more. They've already asked for more money.
Two things are very clear. One, Pakistan doesn't learn its lesson, and that's part and parcel of its steady decline. Second, in the very beginning I said, well, Munir owes his job to India, and his future prospects. It's a survival bid for him, to sort of divert attention to all the great failures.
No, but then shouldn't the government do that? Shouldn't the political leadership do that rather?
The political leadership.
General would do that because he wants to survive, right?
Political leadership is a farce. Like you said, defense minister, all these are buffoons. Like they are just for display. It is now even the DGMO and the National Security Advisor is ISI chief, so who is a lieutenant general. So now he's in the cabinet. I mean, even if there was some doubt somebody had, that is also dispelled. There is no civilian government. It's just a thing, facade. We all know that this particular political dispensation didn't win. It's Imran Khan who's jailed. I mean, there is no democratic government, civil government in place. It is army running the show, and that's why the defense minister, the prime minister himself seems so clueless about what's happening on the ground, and they just go about parroting the same thing over and over again.
Right. I like to leave our viewers with a Pakistani YouTuber. His name is Ahmed Nurani. We saw some of those clips. Of course, I think he must be in exile. He must be in the US or somewhere. He kind of alluded to that. But he makes some very important points. And he is a YouTuber who's quite popular in Pakistan itself. And he raises some very, very important points. So before we kind of wind up, do watch some of Ahmed Nurani's take on Operation Sindoor and how Pakistan has been left licking its wounds. Well, thank you so much, Mihir, for joining me on AB Decodes. Thank you so much for joining me on this very interesting discussion where we've talked about a couple of issues. But we'll continue these discussions. Do write in. I would love to hear your opinion on the Pakistani army, what you think about what Pakistan will do next, and what India should do next as we move towards some of the goals that have been set up by the Prime Minister, by the NDA government of Viksit Bharat. But of course, there are challenges on the way, and one such challenge we saw in the last 1 week. All right, goodbye, and I'll see you next time with another podcast.